There's been a trend recently within Amazon circles that I have been seeing a lot of sellers switching from FBA selling to FBM selling. And so today I want to cover why I believe that is, as well as really what the differences are between FBA, FBM, and why we are seeing this trend of people starting to go and lean more heavily towards the FBM side of selling on Amazon. I've been selling on Amazon since December of 2015, and in my 10th year, this has probably been the most amount of people that I've seen switching from doing FBA to doing the FBM model where they're fulfilling the products themselves. And so I want to cover that in as much detail as I possibly can today. If you're a brand new seller, be sure to check out all of this information because I'm going to be going through what the differences are, what the pros and cons are, and really what it is that you can do to maximize the FBA opportunity and to maximize the FBM opportunity. If you're more experienced, then I'm excited to get through some reasons why you may want to consider adding FBM into your business model if you haven't been doing that just yet. But before we get into that, my name is Jimmy Smith, and I've built and scaled multiple 6- and 7-figure Amazon and other e-commerce businesses online, and I've trained thousands of other people. And I make these videos because I want to help make online selling simple for those that are seeking financial freedom. Let's go ahead and get into the differences between Amazon FBA versus FBM and why people are currently switching. As you can see here, I've got a nice little chart, a little flow chart where we're going to go through the pros and cons of both of these and really discuss when it makes sense for you to start looking at the FBM opportunities. So from an FBA standpoint, we're going to talk about sourcing and shipping process as well as the customer service process, which is very simple on the FBA side. But let's look at sourcing and shipping. So with FBA, you're going to be finding your products, right? You're going to be doing your sourcing, whether it's arbitrage or it's wholesale. You're going to be finding those. You're going to use the FBA fees and FBA shipping average rates for profitability. What I mean by FBA shipping average rates is typically going to be what is your average cost per pound to ship into an Amazon warehouse. If you're a brand new seller and you're shipping very few items into Amazon, I recommend doing more like 75 cents to $1 per pound because you're not sending a ton of things in. If you're a little bit more experienced, you can get away with 40 cents, 50 cents per pound or less, depending on how long you've been selling and how many products you're sending in. I know some people that get 10 to 15 cents per pound because they send in quite a lot of items on a regular basis, or they're doing less than truckload shipping, which is a whole different animal than what we're talking about today. Once you have that information, you can put that into a profitability calculator. Now, I recommend two different ones, and I'll put the links in the description. One is ASINZen or AZ Insight, kind of goes by two different names, but ultimately it's the same company, and they have a great profitability calculator that will help you to incorporate the different fees into your analysis. Another one is RevSeller, and that is a similar tool. It's just set up a little bit differently. I've used both and I like them both, but that will help you to get the right fees for your business from an FBA standpoint. And now, as we continue down this process, after you find profitable products and you purchase those products, you bring them back to your home, or you utilize a prep center that will ship them into Amazon FBA for you, then you need to box up all of those items to send to FBA warehouses. So we have a few days, right, in here where you find a product, especially if you're doing online arbitrage. You find a product, you buy it, you wait 3, 4, 5 days for that to show up to your house or show up to your prep center, and at that point you need to then take the time to box up all those items and send them in bulk to Amazon FBA warehouses based off where they're telling you to send them in. And so we do have some downtime there where we're just waiting for products to get to us. We have to prep those products, and then we have to send them into Amazon warehouses and wait for Amazon to check those products in. And so this is one big reason why we're seeing sellers start to switch into more of an FBM business model, because there is a lot of downtime, which actually slows down your ability to get your capital back from Amazon. Because if you're buying products, you're waiting 4 or 5 days plus an extra few days, let's just call it a week, from the time that you buy a product to the time that you actually send it to Amazon. And then you're waiting 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 or more weeks for Amazon to check those items in. And then they actually have to transfer that around their entire network to different warehouse locations so that it's closer to customers. We're looking at quite a long time for you to actually be able to sell these products and start getting money back. Once you do this, Amazon then takes care of everything at that point. So Amazon will check these in, they'll make them the items live on the platform. At this point, you also are eligible and you will get the Prime badge if you're doing FBA, because that is a perk of doing FBA, is that you are a Prime seller at that point. And typically Amazon is able to fulfill those items to the customers within a couple days. Now, sometimes it's a day or less than a day. Sometimes it's 3, 4, or 5 days, depending on where the customer is located and where your product is, but you will be a Prime seller. That Prime badge helps you to get more buy box share. That helps you to show that you're more of a trustworthy seller, at least from a customer perspective, if they're ever looking at that. And it also helps Amazon to feel a little bit more confidence in the products that you're selling, because they kind of have some control over that process, and Amazon likes having control over the process. So anyway, that is a huge benefit of being an FBA seller, is that you automatically will have that Prime badge, and you didn't have to do anything specific to get that besides sending it to Amazon. So after Amazon checks it in, makes the items live on the platform, then the customer will buy those items and Amazon will fulfill those items to the customer for you. They handle everything at that point. All you really have to worry about in terms of the buying and shipping process is going to be finding products and sending them into Amazon FBA. And then after that, it's kind of out of your hands. Amazon handles all of that fulfillment for you, which is a huge perk. And that's one reason that I am 95+% FBA on things that I do, because I like to allow Amazon to handle all of the fulfillment process. But in some cases, that's not going to make sense. Again, we have a lot of downtime. We're looking at probably 5 weeks or so, 4 to 5 weeks from the time you find something to the time it's live on Amazon, and you have had money sitting in those inventory items for that time period. And then you have to wait for it to sell. And in a lot of cases with the stuff that I buy, I want to make sure it sells within 30 days, which is a fairly quick turnaround time for a lot of people. But 30 to 60 days is what you're looking at after that point. And that is more time where Amazon is essentially holding onto your inventory and you don't have access to capital yet because the items haven't sold. So it just is a little bit more downtime, but Amazon's handling all of the fulfillment process. And then after that, let's say the customer buys the product, Amazon fulfills it to the customer. Then you have to wait a few weeks for Amazon to release funds to your account, because there's going to be reserves for returns. In some cases, Amazon will have a 2-week time limit for you to even get that money in to your account. I actually have daily payouts in one of my Amazon accounts, and other people don't get daily payouts. You get them every 2 weeks, and Amazon's going to hold reserves for returns, or they're going to hold reserves because you're a newer seller and they don't trust you just yet. And so these things will affect your cash flow a little bit, actually quite a bit. They affect your cash flow. And so you have to be careful with how to best manage your money from a cash flow perspective with FBA and with FBM. But really the biggest downer from a cash flow perspective is that you are waiting for a long time for this process to take place, for you to buy products, get them, send them to Amazon. Amazon checks them in, Amazon transfers them to other warehouses. And then ultimately, whenever those products sell, that's when you're going to be able to get some funds out a couple weeks later, depending on how your capital set up in your account. Now, the great part with this though is the customer service, and Amazon does handle all the returns. They handle all the customer communication. Sometimes a message will come through to you, but if a product was fulfilled FBA, then you can just send them or direct them towards Amazon for them to handle that process. Now, there are other perks to this. If you get negative seller reviews doing FBA, let's say the shipping took a long time for the product to get to the customer, and they leave a negative review on your seller account for that, Amazon will strike through that review and will say, hey, Amazon was responsible for the customer fulfillment, this process or whatever it is, and they'll strike through that review and it won't hurt your account. There are a lot of other things too, that if ultimately a product doesn't show up to the customer, you aren't going to get hurt. Your account won't be hurt because of that. And Amazon takes the responsibility for all of those issues, which is nice, but they obviously are collecting more fees for doing this service for their sellers. Now let's take a look at FBM. So we've already kind of talked about a big reason why some sellers are switching to FBM, and it's the downtime, right? You have a long time until products get to you, but it's also some of the capital. You can get access to your funds much quicker from an FBM perspective. And so let's go through the process for FBM. So for sourcing and shipping, you're going to be looking at this. Find products. You're going to be using FBM fees on those calculators, whether it's RevSeller or Ace and Zen, and you're going to be looking at possible shipping rates for profitability at a USPS zone far from you. Now, this sounds a little weird, but there are different USPS zones. You can look them up online, and there are plenty of videos that cover this type of a thing, but you need to find a zone that's a little bit further from you, because if you are judging your shipping rates and you're guessing at your shipping rates based off of a close zone, let's say you're in Orlando, Florida, and you're judging it based off Tampa, Florida, well, that's not going to be indicative of all the customers that live in California or Washington State or up in New York, right? And so you need to start looking for different zones and judge your shipping rates based off of a further zone. And you can really set up your shipping templates using that. Now, this video isn't on shipping templates. I recommend checking that out, because there's or checking out other videos on that, because there's tons of content out on YouTube for free for that information. But really, this is the trickiest part with FBM. This is the thing that keeps people away from doing FBM, is getting their shipping set up and their shipping templates set up in the right way. And so I recommend taking some time. If you want to go into the FBM process, take some time, make sure your shipping templates are set up. You can even join a free Facebook group and ask other people for what their advice is. And so I recommend a free Facebook group at bit.ly/MST group. Again, there's almost 80,000 people at the time of this recording in that group. I've been in it for about 10 years at this point, and I highly recommend going there. You can ask for people's advice on those shipping templates that you set up to make sure that it's done in the right way. And I think that'll be a huge help for a lot of people. But once you have all of this set up and you're judging your profitability based off of FBM fees and the shipping rates that you are guesstimating, essentially for those products, then you can start to list those products. Anything that you find is a profitable amount, you can list those products. You can either do free shipping and build your shipping fees into that price, or you can add a shipping fee if you want to just have some more comfort there. A lot of times we see that people will do free shipping unless it's an expedited order, in which case then they have really high shipping fees for people to do expedited orders. But ultimately, again, check these videos out on YouTube for setting up your shipping rates, and I think that'll be a huge help. Now, the next thing is after you list those products, the listing is live on Amazon pretty much immediately. It might be 10-15 minutes or so, but those listings will be live because you now have inventory. You've listed it on Amazon. Amazon can show that to the customers. And then if a customer purchases that product, then you are the one that has to fulfill that order to the customer. Now, I highly recommend purchasing your shipping through Amazon because you get some more protections for doing that from Amazon versus purchasing it outside and then adding a tracking information. If you buy your shipping through Amazon, you get some more protection for any kind of Amazon or A to Z claims that you might get, where a customer says, hey, I didn't get this shipping or this product in time, or it never showed up. If you purchased your shipping through Amazon, you're going to have some more protections on your account for those types of things. But ultimately, the customer buys the product, you fulfill it to the customer. So you could, and I've had this happen, where I've been in a store, I found a popular product, I listed it while I was in the store. It was in my cart. I hadn't even purchased it yet. And then the customer ordered it, and I was able to buy that product from the store. And then I went right home and I got the shipping label and sent it out the next day. And so this is how fast that things can really go for you whenever you are doing FBM. You could legitimately find a product, list it on Amazon, and have it selling that day, instead of having this 5-week downtime or so until products are being sold on Amazon. You can have something sell immediately. Now, it may sell a little bit slower too, because if it's not FBA, customers may be less likely to purchase the product from you. Typically, customers are going to like prime sellers being able to get it as fast as possible. But ultimately, this can happen where you're getting a lot of popular things and you're able to sell them very quickly because you're doing FBM. And then after that, once you've fulfilled the items to the customer, Amazon will place that money into your account. There will still be reserves on a lot of things just in case there's returns, or you're, a new seller and you're selling counterfeit goods or something, and that's not allowed. So Amazon wants to hold some of that money just in case, but it is a much faster turnaround time. You are going to be able to get that money within a few days if you are buying the right products to sell FBM, and it's just a much quicker process for you. Now, the other thing, the really big downer, in my opinion, with FBM is the customer service side. In this case, the seller will handle all the customer communication and return requests. If there are any issues with the order, if the shipping is delayed, if something happens, then you are the one that has to take on the brunt of that workload. But for many people, that's okay. You don't get a ton of customer requests or issues, but whenever you do, it is your responsibility to handle them almost as if Amazon would be handling them. And then if there are any shipping issues, you will be held responsible for those shipping issues unless it falls under the A to Z guarantee that Amazon has. And so again, that's why I recommend purchasing shipping through Amazon's carriers and through their platform, because then you get some more protections in that case. And so as we're looking at the current landscape of Amazon, we are seeing a few things. It used to be that FBA sellers always got the buy box over FBM with some rare instances. But because of the landscape of things with Amazon right now, they are showing more FBM sellers in the buy box over some of the FBA sellers. And it really comes down to a few things in that case. It's going to come down to the price that the seller is selling it at versus what the FBA sellers have it at. It's also going to come down to location in comparison to where the customer is purchasing from, and if you can get that product to them faster than an FBA seller could get it to them through Amazon's warehousing and logistics. So we are seeing that Amazon is allowing more FBM sellers at this point to get more buy box share, and because of that, you're having a much lower amount of time that you're waiting for the products to get into Amazon. You're having a much lower amount of time for the money to get back to you after you purchase something, and you're able to get some more buy box share, which allows you to sell more products as an FBM seller now than you used to be able to. And so if you're somebody that's interested in doing FBM, I recommend checking it out slowly. Check out the shipping templates that you need to get set up. Join the free community. See if there's anything that you would change or that other people would change about those shipping templates, and just start testing the waters. Maybe for some things that you're buying FBA, also list 1 or 2 of those items as FBM just to see how they sell and see if you like that process. For me, I much prefer being able to outsource things to a prep center. I send all of my products, wholesale and any kind of arbitrage products, to a prep center, and they would be able to fulfill that to Amazon and pack it up for Amazon to then do the fulfillment to the customer. I like the logistical nature of that. It's much easier for me. But if you're someone that wants to get some more fast turnarounds, or you're a newer seller and you're just trying to get going and get your cash flow going much faster, then FBM may be a great way for you to do that. You have much more control over your inventory as well. If Amazon were to ever shut down your account, or you were to get kind of a Section 3 violation at all and you couldn't sell anymore, if all of your inventory is at Amazon, then they're holding your inventory and they have control over it. They're charging you fees for storage. Whereas if you have your inventory at your home, then ultimately you're the one holding the inventory. You still can't sell it on Amazon, but you could sell it on eBay or Walmart or another platform while you're waiting for that process to play out. So there is some other benefit for being an FBM seller instead of an FBA seller in that case. You're kind of looking at it from a worst case scenario that if you got suspended, what happens to your inventory? So it really should come down to more of a business decision of what do you want your business to look like? Do you want to fulfill products to your customer, or do you want Amazon to fulfill them? And then what are you growing towards? Now, if you're somebody that's doing under $5,000 per month in sales, I have a ton of free training. I recommend checking out that link in the description below. It's at askjimmysmith.com/free training. If you are over $5,000 per month in sales, then I recommend checking out my Business Building Legends community. We have over 100 different systems on sourcing, prep and ship, all kinds of different things, and a great community of sellers that have been around since 2017. We've been around in the Business Building Legends community. You can apply to join at askjimmysmith.com/legends. Really excited to talk to you and hopefully get you into the community. If you have any questions on this stuff, please post them down in the comments. We're here to help in any way that we possibly can. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.